If I want the world to know one thing about Joe Collins is Joe Collins likes to fish.
Likes to fish?
I like to fish, yep. I like to fish.
Cook or you just put a release, catch release?
No, I catch the fish and I cook it.
You cook it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you cook on the side with the fish?
Doesn't matter.
Just anything?
Asparagus. I love asparagus. I'm Joe Collins, congressional candidate for California's new 36th district. Originally from Los Angeles, South Central, moved to Texas when I was in high school because I got heavily involved in gangs, and our house was shot up in a drive-by. My mom, she wasn't feeling it, so she moved us to Texas. I joined the Navy in 2004, graduated high school in 2003, and got out the military in the end of 2017 to get involved in politics. I own a business. I wouldn't necessarily call it a small business, but I do own a mid to large company, and I sit on the board of a global development company as well.
Let's start back with your military service.
Okay.
What prompted you to leave the Navy?
I wanted to get involved in politics. That was the sole reason. In the military, they say that you can't get involved in politics. You can't have a voice when it comes to politics, and I didn't agree with that. I figured, we're fighting for people's rights to freedom of speech, right to not have the government interfere in your personal life. The commander-in-chief is over the military, which is the president of the United States. So how come we can't have a political opinion on the same things that we fight for? On top of that, you see our country, going to crap. Overspending, socialism, people taking, liberties for granted, people hating America, even though they live in America, but has never been to another country. Mm-hmm. And, I wanted to be a representative. I wanted to fight for America.
Okay, so you ran against Maxine Waters to represent California's 43rd district in 2020. Mm-hmm. How do you feel like you were received by the constituents of the 43rd district in 2020?
How do I feel like I was received? I think it was hostile at first. I mean, you got this black guy coming in, I've raised a ton of money, and I'm running against this community's beloved Maxine Waters. And the only people who love Maxine Waters are people who are in the black community. For some reason, they think that she fights for them. At first it was hostile, but after I made a video walking in front of Maxine Waters' house and we depicted how she lives versus how people in the community live. A lot of people are like, wow, and you start to look around the community, gang violence, crime rates that's high. I want to say it's a lot of poverty. I think 43% of the people in the district live 20% below the poverty level. They don't even know it. Poor education when it comes to college graduations. It's extremely low in this community, and people start to look around and say, you know what, she really hasn't done anything, and she's really living off the legacies of the 90s when she was a really good politician.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about how your family feels about your career choices.
They've expected me to get into politics because I've never done anything that they've expected me to do. Joining the military, they were pissed off. Going overseas and boots on the ground in Iraq, they were mad about that. Getting out the military, they were mad about that. Me getting into politics, they were mad about that. Finding out that I was a Republican, they were pissed. They were pissed. You can't be a part of those races, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, I can't necessarily call the Republican racist. I can call Democrats racist because you can look at our community. What they have allowed to happen in our community. That's blatant racism. You gotta hate a specific person or a specific group of people that much to allow the stuff that's going on in our community to happen, not do anything about it. So that looks like racism. I don't mind. Somebody asked me the other day, do you have a seat at the table at the Republican Party? And I'm like, I've raised enough money and I make enough money to build my own table. I don't need a table at their party, But I like the fact that I can be a Republican, and part of that platform is do what you want to do within the context of the law, and I absolutely agree with that.
What motivates you to still want to run and be that change?
Well, I've tried to explain this before. What motivates me to run to be a change is this right here. So California is probably the second most populated state outside of New York. I think New York is number one. California is number two. you have a lot of people like me who are from the inner cities or who are turning Republican, and we're from the state. Now, if everybody turns Republican and move to Republican states, then those are the only states that are going to be able to hold Republican legislature on a federal level, right? We all moved to Texas, we moved to Arizona, we moved to Florida, Alabama or what have you. You don't get that many legislators from those cities, right? So that means you'll have Democrats easily taking seats. Whereas if we stick to our guns and we are proud about being Republicans, but we have common sense type legislation, but also are able to listen to people who are Democrats or who vote Democrats and listen to their concerns and somehow figure out, how we can represent those concerns as well, then I think we have a really strong chance in turning other people Republicans and at least turning the state purple. We can't all run away from our problems in life, just like we can't all run away from Democrats ran states in America right now. So some of us got to fight. I mean, I see a lot of people talking how Democrats are bad, this, that, and the other, but we have to get into the fights. Our influencers have to support the guys who are on the ground actually doing the work. We all can't bitch and complain about how terrible Joe Biden is, but expect them to win with 5 or 6 Republican states. Even the city of Los Angeles itself holds about 12 million people. Now that population is about the same as 4 or 5 northern states. Idaho, North Dakota, Wyoming, Wisconsin. That's about 6 million people in itself. So who's going to fight in the heavy, dense populated areas if everybody moves?
Okay, so explain to me a little bit about the redistricting and how the 36th district came about.
It's a long story about redistricting in California, at least between the 36th and the 43rd. But redistricting happens every 10 years after they do the census because they have to be able to regulate how many legislatures are in every single state. And California lost a lot of people, I think like 200,000-300,000 people. And so with the population decrease, they lost 2 legislators, which means they have to redraw the lines. Now, in my opinion, the reason why I think the 36th district came about was because during our race against Maxine Waters in 2020, we registered over 50,000 Republicans. Now, the 43rd district was supposed to be a heavy Democrat district, and Republicans are not supposed to be able to register people or even run and win or be successful in that district. And so I think they want to keep that same energy. And so they took out the places that are the heavy places that I won, and they put it over here, and then they added this one over here to Maxine Waters because they knew if they created me a conservative area that I was going to take it. And they were right. So I have Ranchos Palos Verdes, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, Lomita, the west part of Torrance, Marina Del Rey, Manhattan Beach, and Beverly Hills, and a little bit of Culver City. And I'm extremely happy with that. Now I'm going to have to be in Congress and attack Maxine Waters every chance I get.
Right. Yeah. How do you feel about recent comments made about revising the Constitution? Do you feel like that's needed?
No. I think that anybody who's talking about revising the Constitution, unless you put in term limits or age limits in the Constitution, is a complete moron. We don't need a revision of the Constitution. We just need to add some provisions in the Constitution to stop politicians from being able to be in office for freaking 51 years, like Joe Biden, 40 years, like, Maxine Waters, 47 years, like Nancy Pelosi, 49 years, like Dianne Feinstein, Mitch McConnell, all of these guys. It's a mess. I don't think these guys even represent what the United States is today. I mean, I can't understand how people can assume that somebody who's 80 years old can represent your best interests at 30. You know what I'm saying? It's completely impossible. And it blows my mind. People are like, oh, they're going to fight for us. I'm like, they can't even get out of bed without Prozac. Like, come on. It's completely ridiculous in my opinion. I think they need to just kick back and enjoy their great-great-grandkids and stuff like that and leave the functioning of the United States to the younger generation.
How do you think people who have been in for 3-4 decades, like Maxine Waters, why do you think she keeps getting elected so much, especially in California?
Looking back over the elections, I haven't seen too many people take that race serious. You have people who want to run because they want to be famous, they want to be popular, social media influencers or whatever. But when it comes to caring about the people, I was one of the first candidates to ever do it. And she's well known, and so Once people get emotionally attached to you, then guess what? They're going to vote for you every single time, and they make excuses to keep her in office. Oh, well, she's doing the best she can, or it's the Republicans that's stopping her from doing this, that, and the other. Although the Republicans isn't stopping her from being rich, So people just got to take these races serious.
So what are your thoughts on President Biden now coming out and supporting funding the police?
My thoughts on Biden coming out saying he needs to fund the police is like, duh, we told you that. I think the only reason why he ran on the platform that he did whenever he was running for president was because it was a more popular platform amongst progressives, and he needed that progressive vote. Now that he's in office, it's like the whole bait and switch. Well, we're going to fund the police now. Joe Biden had always been a moderate, even though he's been a terrible politician. So, we've seen it coming. He lied. His whole campaign, he lied about everything. So I'm not surprised he wants to fund the police now. Now he's going with the most popular thing that's going right now, and that's, crime is high because of Joe Biden. He wanted to defund the police. He encouraged all these cities and states to defund the police departments. Now crime is up. Now he wants to refund them. That's just as dumb as Joe Biden closing businesses and jobs down and then reopening them, talking about how great job growth is. It's like, no, that's not job growth. Job growth is once every single business that was shut down, everybody that was put off work is back to work, and then we can add more jobs on top of that. That's job growth, but this is laughable.
So another hot issue right now is education with kids, and especially with the parental rights in education bill that was passed in Florida. So what are your views on reproductive science being taught to children? What age do you think that should be implemented in public schools?
Oh my gosh. Reproductive science. I don't know if that's what you want to call what they've been pushing in the schools. It seems more like sexual propaganda, but I don't think any child should be learning that. I mean, how is that going to benefit that child? How is that going to make them a successful adult? They can't even read, but you're teaching them about, things that they're not even going to experience until they're, 17, 18, 19 years old. So when it comes to reproductive health or any type of a sexual agenda, I think, maybe junior, senior years when you want to explore that, when young adults are really, exploring their sexuality and trying to figure out, what they want. But all of this, teach your kids, about lesbian, gays, transgenders, or even a transgendering of your children at a young age, I think is completely ridiculous. I think a lot of kids are having some type of, emotional reaction, maybe to not getting the attention that they want, or to, seeing other things and wondering if that could be them, or, if they want to be something else. But I think that encouraging it is extremely bad. I think that's why the suicide rate among that group of people is extremely high. They want everybody to accept who they think they are when they can't even accept who God made them.
So switching to a little bit, talking about veterans issues, which I know is part of your platform as well too. How do you feel about VA doctors or medical providers prescribing narcotics?
When it comes to VA doctors and hospitals prescribing narcotics, I think it's like a hit and miss for me. It takes away from that physician or specialist actually finding out what's wrong with that veteran. My back hurts. Oh, well, these drugs are going to help. How about we, go more in depth in the specifics on why that veteran's back hurt instead of, hyping them up with medication. I think the overdoing it with the medication is the reason why we have so many veterans that can't function in society. Veterans need a lot of help. They need a lot of care, and that's care that medication can't give.
So how do you feel about VA medical providers prescribing alternative medicine? So like medical marijuana, psilocybin, otherwise known as mushrooms, CBDs, or like the therapeutic ketamine treatments?
I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. It's safer than getting people hooked on drugs, marijuana, CBD are definitely good. Mushrooms, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know much about mushrooms, but ketamine and all the other stuff, I think is extremely important that we try something different. I guarantee you that if we do use CBD, if we do use all of these other alternative holistic medications, you could possibly have more functioning members who are going to contribute to society because they're not doped up 24/7.
What sort of additions or how would you propose reforming the network of support for veterans?
Well, when it comes to the network of support for veterans, I think we have to talk about what type of support that veteran needs. A lot of times the housing programs are extremely broken. I know when I got out the military, I spent a stint on the streets, not in downtown, in the rich parts, because I didn't want anybody to know I didn't have anywhere to go. But, waiting for housing. I think the VA system in itself could use a lot of improvement. I think President Trump did a lot to improve the VA healthcare system and the way things are done, but a lot more can be done. We need more physicians. We need more nurses. We need more facilities. We need to upgrade our systems. I think the VA healthcare system is, I think it's in the 19th century right now when we're in the 21st century, can put it in certain terms. But there are a lot of things that we can do to improve veterans healthcare. More, I don't want to call it like psychiatric help, but more assistance. Personal assistance, personal care for veterans would definitely help. Somebody who veterans can talk to that's not going to doctor them, or try and diagnose them. Somebody they can just listen to and, oh, are you feeling this way? Well, I can get you help for this, or I know somebody, or I can get you this for that, So I think that would help a lot too.
What sort of outreach or events have you done specifically to connect with veterans in your community, or this community?
So I volunteer at the VA hospital down in Long Beach, and then I work a lot with the Veterans Association down in downtown Los Angeles, but they've been closed. Now it's a tent city. So right now, with everything being shut down and the way that California is going, it's really hard to get involved in veterans. And even when you get involved in veteran outreach, I mean, just the quality of the facilities or the quality of care is extremely low, and that's something that can be corrected on a federal level.
So, talking about the military and how it is right now, a lot of soldiers, airmen, and sailors are being pressured to receive the COVID needs so they can stay enlisted and keep their role. How do you feel about the needs within the military?
I'm not a huge fan of the Vietnamese squad, not even in the military, not even outside the military. And the reason why is because it's still an experimental Vietnamese squad. It's not like the flu shot where they're going to give you a dead virus and, allow your immune system to get acclimated to that virus in order to fight it off. They're literally injecting unknown substances into you. We don't know what it's going to do. They have a lot of adverse effects on people. And I don't think it was a wise choice. I think the military bent to political pressure and when it came to the Vietnamese guys in the military.
So right now we're, possibly under threat from a foreign adversary, with the Russia conflict. So with us as Americans already being maybe possibly pending World War III, why do you think our southern border is still open?
I don't think America is under threat from World War III, but when it comes to the southern borders, I mean, the Democrats there, in my opinion, they're losing their voter base from terrible policies. And so they figured, if we'll let illegals in and we give them the ability to vote, then guess what? They're going to vote for us if we give them enough incentives. When it comes to what's going on over in Ukraine, I think that it's a challenge to Joe Biden's leadership to see what he's really going to do. We didn't have this under Putin, but we had a lot of it under Joe Biden. They took over Crimea. They took over all of these different European nations to rebuild the USSR. Everybody knew Joe Biden was a weak leader. Everybody knew the Biden-Harris administration was one of the worst administrations that you could have voted for. I mean, Kamala Harris is not qualified to be the president, and Joe Biden definitely is not qualified to be the president. Or vice president and president, but yet here we are, just like the military leaders are not qualified to be military leaders. I think that although things are going on over it in Ukraine, we're sending them billions of dollars, you might as well go ahead and send troops over there to defend Ukraine. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, why is Ukraine all of a sudden so important? What is American politicians hiding over Ukraine to which they want to defend that country so bad? And nobody's answering that question. Everybody wants to give sympathy to Ukraine. Personally, I don't care about Ukraine. I don't. That's not United States business. I care about America. I care about Americans, and that's who we need to be taking care of first.
So before we talked about as well, like billions of dollars being sent to Ukraine in aid. Where do you think that those funds should be directed if they're not being directed towards Ukraine?
America.
Specifically where in America or how?
It doesn't even matter as long as it's not going to another country. Personally, I would prefer to take that money and put it towards our borders. You know, I think we have a huge problem there, and our borders can use that money. Look at our failing businesses. The money can go to incentives for our failing businesses, struggling families, homelessness, gas prices. You know, using that money towards energy companies. Doesn't matter if it's renewable energy, nuclear energy, coal mines, oil, gas, natural gas, all of that stuff. We can, you know, we have so many issues here in America, and yet we don't solve our issues, but we're quick to throw American taxpayers' dollars over to another country. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I would never send Ukraine anything.
So why do you believe that so many, I'll say, establishment, media and politicians, both on the left and conservatives, Republicans, why do you think they are so adamantly supporting Ukraine right now?
Well, when it comes to the media, propaganda is always pushed to the media. There is nothing in the media that anybody should be believing. Everything has always been a lie. Everything from COVID-19 to Hunter Biden's laptop to how great Joe Biden was going to be as a president. But right now, you see everything that they pushed has been a lie. So, of course, the media is going to push what they think will keep American people emotionally attached or either in fear to keep those in power in power. When it comes to the politicians, you got Senator John Kerry, President Biden, who else? Nancy Pelosi. You got a lot of politicians who have interests in foreign economies. Their children sit on boards of foreign companies, corrupt foreign companies. And we saw during the Obama administration, while Joe Biden was the vice president, how he held that country up. You know, he wanted a prosecutor fired. He held $80 billion in aid to Ukraine to fire a prosecutor who was looking into the company that not only his son sat on, but a few other politicians' sons sat on. So I personally would think that they want to keep those secrets.
Why do you think just now in March 2022, this story is coming out as being true by the mainstream media?
Well, you can't hide it. It's one of the biggest stories. Well, it should have been a big story 2 years ago. But Biden lied about it. But now, I mean, you really can't hide everything that's coming out. How is it that the IRS get a few $1 million tax bill and Hunter Biden, who has never held a job, is able to pay that tax bill? Where'd that money come from? So now you have to look into those things, you know? And we also have to ask ourselves, are they trying to push Joe Biden out of office? His presidency has completely destroyed America. It has destroyed our energy independence, and it has destroyed our reputation in the international world. So what are they planning on doing? And I think that this Hunter Biden story is going to be the start for them trying to remove Joe Biden. You got to think the 2022 election is coming around. You're going to have more Republicans in office in the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. So it's going to be the catalyst for removing Joe Biden. Now, I'm waiting for something for Kamala Harris to come out, too, because you're going to have to remove the two. And then we have to find something to do with Nancy Pelosi because she's one of the most corrupt politicians I've ever seen in my life. And you can quote me on that, too. Joe Collins said it first, right?
If elected, or if you could, how would you propose that America lowers the gas prices? $1 million question. Literally $1 million.
That is not $1 million question. It's a simple question. We have to invest in energy in the United States. You know, we can't shut down energy companies in the United States and then go back in other countries for the same thing that we can produce 4 or 5 times more of. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a big oil guy. I'm a big energy guy. I'm a big nuclear energy guy, natural gas guy. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to have more investments in American natural gas, American nuclear energy, and American oil. Coal mines and everything. Those jobs is not going away. Even lithium fields. I mean, everybody want to have, electric cars. Well, how are the batteries made?
Right.
You know, what happens when the power grids go out and your electric car is dead and you got to call me to come pick you up because I have a pickup truck. You know, it's not electric. Investing in U.S. energy.
Mm-hmm. So people like Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, I would assume that they understand where electricity comes from.
No, Pete's an idiot. Pete's an idiot. He only got elected because he's a gay guy. the whole entire Biden administration is glamorizing all of these positions. They're not putting qualified people in those positions. They're putting people in positions who they think everybody's going to like so you can stay in office. But that's what happens. You're going to put everybody that you like in office, but they have no experience. Pete Buttigieg was a terrible mayor. And now all of a sudden he's over the Department of Transportation. It makes no sense to me because he's a gay white male with a son or with some twins or something like that. You know, we need qualified people in those positions, and he is not that.
Right. So what do you think is, if you had to guess, what is their motivation for encouraging the electric vehicles?
I don't know what their motivation is. I think everybody wants to go to this green new energy, but I don't even think most people who are pushing for green new energy understand what green new energy is. They really don't, right. You know. So I think that we have a lot of uneducated people that are sitting in office. I mean, AOC, she doesn't have a degree in accounting or economics, and she definitely doesn't know anything about the government, yet she spouts off things every day. Ilhan Omar, another example of somebody who came here from another country and knows absolutely nothing about government. You know, she should be in jail right now for those IRS scandals that she has going on. Pete Buttigieg, he was a terrible mayor. The only reason why he got his position is because he's a popular gay guy who ran for president, but he ran a terrible campaign. Kamala Harris, you know, she was a terrible prosecutor. You know, she got her job as a senator in California because of, you know, being promiscuous, unfortunately. It wasn't because she was a great prosecutor. She was a terrible prosecutor, you know, and she ran a terrible vice presidential campaign. She dropped out damn near as soon as it started. So what we see here is people being elected or put into office because they're a black woman, or he's a gay man, or he's a nice guy, instead of the qualifications. And that's why our country is failing. Pete Buttigieg he's not qualified to be in that position.
If gas prices keep increasing, do you think that the Secretary of Transportation is going to offer to supply Americans with Teslas?
That's a trick question. No, unless it's for other countries. You know how it goes.
Okay,
we got to be in other countries for them to give us stuff. They don't give Americans nothing. They just use us for our tax dollars and then take our money and give it everywhere else. They're not going to give you nothing. They're going to probably give you like some crack pipes. You know, so they call it safe use kits and stuff. You get the little.
Okay, but then if you smoke enough crack, will it give you enough energy to just like walk to your destination?
No, but you definitely won't care about getting to your destination after you smoke enough crack.
Okay, so it solves the problem anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You won't need cars because everybody's on crack.
Oh, just
exactly.
Crackhead city.
Yep.
Great.
And they can control it too. If they get the bag, they got your information, social security number, address. They know who's smoking crack. They can come to your door. And you know what else? I think they're probably gonna make crack legal too.
Where does electricity come from?
Well, I know Alexander Graham Bell created electricity, but if I'm a betting man, I'll tell you that you can probably, and I've done this before, right? You can rub your feet really fast on a carpet and touch stuff, and it shocks and then it supercharges it.
Okay, so how many times would you have to rub your feet on the ground to go like 15 miles in a Tesla, like to charge it that much?
I don't know. I have a pickup truck. I'm an oil guy. I've never driven an electric car. Yeah.
So you don't have to Flintstone it too often.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I got gas. I'm gonna get gas, and gas is so expensive.
Oh, here?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I got to do like 91 or 92 or whatever, and it's like $170 every time I got to fill up. I try my best to get in front of as many people as possible, and I talk to everybody I come across. Even, stop at the stoplight, somebody's in the car, I roll down the window, try to make conversation, a compliment or what have you. In the streets, a lot of people know me, but I still try to maintain a positive attitude, and I think listening is one of the biggest things. I've never been one to try to force my opinion on anybody. And I listen to people. I don't necessarily accept everybody's opinion, but I think listening makes people understand that you actually care enough to hear them complain about things that they voted for over the last, 10, 15 years.